We're joined now by Rosben Okagbe, who is a public affairs analyst. Morana, thank you for joining us today. Well, I mean, you do some articles on the state of the nation, especially there was one you did about the declaration of state of emergency. But looking back at all of those, now here we are, commemorating our 53rd anniversary. What would you say about our celebration this time? Commemorating 53rd anniversary of the country, how would you assess us so far?
Sorry, you need to say that again. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Our independence, of course, which is what we are celebrating now. What would be your assessment of our celebration so far? How well would you say the country has fared?
At the moment, it doesn't seem to be faring well, and that's the reality. It's unfortunate that all these things that are happening now at a time when we're taking stock. We have been through some periods where, you know, some positive things have happened, but at the moment, we're facing a lot of difficulties. We have the Boko Haram bombing us. We have terrorism on the rise. We have everybody on strike. The ASU is on strike. The doctors are on strike. PDP is erupting. And PDP is the main party that is running the government. So if PDP is erupting, then the government really is shaky. So at the moment, you know, and we look at our infrastructure, nothing has improved. At the moment, it's not looking too good. It's, you know, there are a lot of problems. Yes, we have come a long way in many different ways, but we still have a lot of problems that need to be resolved.
I think we should quickly ask, are you hopeful about the resolution of these problems? The quick resolution as well of these problems?
Well, we cannot have a quick resolution. Why can't we have a quick resolution? Because the problems are not just what we are looking at on the surface. The problem with ASU is not simply because they're not being paid enough. Why are they not being paid enough? Because the money is being diverted to other places where it shouldn't be. People are being paid to guard the seas when you're paying a navy to guard the seas. And you're paying them so much money, and then the teachers who are teaching your children are not being paid. We have so many fundamental problems. So these problems need to be resolved. We have ethnic differences. We have religious differences. We have so many basic fundamental problems that need to be resolved. It's not enough to just resolve the problems on the surface. The problems need to be resolved from the base so that we can have a long-term solution. So a quick resolution to the problem is not likely, but there are solutions that, if are addressed, the problems can be solved.
Yeah, for me, the fundamental part of that question was the hopeful part of it. I was wondering if you were hopeful that, we will get a resolution eventually.
Yes, we will get a resolution eventually. The question is, how will we go about getting this resolution? What do we need to do? And we need to be very clear on what we need to do to get a resolution. We cannot just solve the problems at the top level, or, ASU says they need more money, so we pay them more money. They're not the only ones with the problem. There's a problem of unemployment in the country. There are all sorts of problems. And for these problems to be resolved, for the problem of Boko Haram, for terrorism, and all the other problems that we have, it is not a quick solution. Yes, they need to be resolved, and they can be resolved if we sit down and talk about these problems and decide the way forward. These problems can be resolved.
Well, I think this is just not the first time we've always talked about problems. So now, what's the difference between what you just said and what we're about to do next?
What do you mean what we're about to do next? You mean the national conference?
Exactly.
Yes, right. The national conference will solve a lot of problems. It will not solve all problems, but it will solve a lot of problems. It will take us forward. For a start, we need to sit down together and discuss the problems of Nigeria from our different points of view. One of the main problems that we have in this country is that we have so many ethnic groups, we have so many people from different backgrounds, and everybody is suspicious of the other. Everybody has a problem that they feel that the other person has caused, and we all need to come and sit down and decide the way forward. How do we resolve these problems? How do we move the country forward? It can be done if we all are very honest and we have that platform to sit down and table these issues. We have, you know, most of the problems that we have in this country. For example, the problem that you have with the PDP now, it is down to ethnic differences. The ethnic differences and the religious differences are causing most of our problems in this country. Yes, we have corruption, we have a lack of values, which are also part of our problem. And these are all things that if we come and sit down and discuss and develop a people's constitution and say, okay, this is how we're going to resolve it, we can move the country forward.
We've heard people say sometimes that, look, when we talk about problems, it's not really as such, because some think it's just politicians who are magnifying all of these things by their actions, their comments, and that if they were to conduct themselves decently, we won't be where we are today as a country. We'll be moving smoothly.
Yeah, but these politicians, were they produced from the moon? We produced them. They didn't, they came from somewhere. It is our system that has produced these politicians. It is our system that allows the politicians to be who they are and what they are. What we need is to develop a system that will change that will, you know, curb what the politicians are doing, curb the licenses that they give themselves, and develop clear methods of doing things, and reinstituting the values. The main problem we have is not just the politicians, it's that the whole country, we have lost our values. We allow the politicians to be who they are and to do what they do. Why? Because we glorify them. It doesn't matter how much anybody steals. In fact, the more they steal, the more we glorify them. And then we excuse their excesses. And that's why we have the problem. We cannot just say it is the politicians' fault. It is our fault. We, the people, should take responsibility by coming together and saying, okay, we are not happy with the way things are going. We are not okay with what the politicians are doing. Let us decide how Nigeria can go forward and what needs to be done to curb all these excesses.
How do you think, sorry, Sulaiman, how do you think that the national conference can be so organized to include everybody and done in such a way that it comes out fruitful?
Okay, it's going to be a lot of work, but the truth is that everybody has to make an input in this process. We have to start at zonal level, grassroots level. Have zonal consultations and bring elders, chiefs, youth, women, everybody together to talk at zonal level and bring out the problems, record all those problems, and you will find that the problems that you have in the north are probably slightly different from the problems that you have in the south. The views of the people in the north are probably different from the views of the people in the south. So if you have all these zonal consultations first and begin to record what the problems are, what the issues are, how they feel that things can be taken forward, and also give them that feeling of ownership of the whole process, then you can then take it to a higher level and then have a national conference and have representatives from all over the country. You have women representatives, you have youth representatives, you have, representatives from every ethnic group, and maybe some religious leaders or something like that, and have a large group of people come to the table and sit down and say, okay, we're going to develop a people's constitution that can be adopted, that will take in all the issues that are on the table at the moment and that need to be addressed.
It definitely does sound like a very laborious process.
Yes, it has to be. because there is no point the government just appointing a group of people and saying, okay, you go and discuss what the problems of Nigeria are. They can only discuss the problems of Nigeria the way they see, from their point of view, from the way they see it. I think at this stage, what we really need to do is get down to grassroots level and let's hear what everybody thinks the problem is. Because things that, you know, at a certain level you might overlook, other people will not overlook. They know that this is the problem. These are the things that they feel need to be resolved. So yes, it's a laborious process. It's not a process that's going to take five days or 5 weeks. It's going to take quite a few months. But if we do it and we get it right, the chances of us solving a lot of our problems are much higher.